Jamie and Lynn in the back of the room there. They're all with iBiz, and Mr. Tom Peters with Aflac. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. But for now, I guess we just jump right in. So, like I said, it's open enrollment. We're talking about insurance, and it's usually pretty boring. But I think I got a couple of exciting little twists that you're going to want to hear about today. But before we jump in, let's talk about the rules of the road, okay? The world we live in, we still have the Affordable Care Act, which means that legally everybody's required to have insurance. It's a great way to get it if you don't already have it. Who knows what's going on in Washington as of our meeting here today. Everything I'll tell you is true. If they vote on something this week, I can't be held responsible for that.
Come on.
Tomorrow, this week, come on, you know that. Other rules, we are in open enrollment. So that means that your plans all go into effect November 1st. I will be back next year around the same time. We'll talk about this all over again, but the decisions you're going to make during this open enrollment, you're going to stick with for a year. It's an IRS code, it's not an iBiz rule, it won't have anything to do with that. What you elect today is yours to keep for a year. A few exceptions to that: you can get married, you can get divorced, you can have a child, you can lose a family member. Anything else?
Loss of coverage.
Loss of coverage for some other reason. And then we will talk to you individually about the special enrollment period. But for the most of us, this is open enrollment. Get all the information, get all your questions answered, and then let's make some decisions today. Okay, so your plans this year, nothing's changing. And by nothing, I mean not even the price, which anybody's been paying attention to healthcare knows that's just unheard of. Okay, so if you're already on the plan, that's just great news. If you're not on the plan, you get the same price they had last year. Some of the things, because we're staying with Florida Blue, that you may or may not have had a chance to take advantage of in the last year are Florida Blue's got a mobile app, which is nice. You throw it on your phone and it'll take care of you. As far as finding a doctor, making sure your doctor's in network, see where you can get your prescriptions filled and that sort of thing. And Florida Blue also has, and this is kind of underutilized and under-advertised, I think. If anybody's been out by the UTC Mall in between UTC and Target, there's a freestanding Florida Blue Center. And because you're with Florida Blue, I mean, we're pretty good at this. We do a lot of stuff. Florida Blue, that's all they do all day long. They know your plan, they know your policy, they can answer your questions. They're a tremendous resource. So are we. If you happen to be out in that part of town, feel free to stop in. They're good people. They've answered a lot of our clients' questions. They're doing a great job, so hop on in there if you need to. The plans themselves, like I said, haven't changed, but I'm assuming over the course of the year we got some new people in the room, so let's just run through them, okay? Going across your sheet from left to right, you've got kind of a good, better, best scenario. So all these plans are actually phenomenal plans. All ACA compliant, all the goodies that come with the new law are packed in there. Not to say the one on the left is a bad plan or anything, it's just simply the most affordable option. And it happens to be a very good plan. So attacking them one at a time, you can see that all three plans are deductible and copay driven. So that means to say all three plans have a deductible anywhere between $1,500 and $5,000 for an individual, $4,500 to $10,000 for your family. And then in one fashion or another, 70 or 80%, you will split with the insurance company any bills that come after your deductible up into your out-of-pocket maximum, third line down. So somewhere between $4,500 and $6,350 for an individual would be your worst case for the entire year. So you could get diagnosed with some kind of dread disease, you can put your car in a ditch, and you can run up a $100,000 hospital bill. This is the worst case scenario. You will not be out of pocket for an individual more than $6,350. Okay, so it's a true out-of-pocket max, so in that respect, these are all great plans. Beyond the deductible and the out-of-pocket max, all three plans have just been peppered with copays. So real quick, just definition of terms, copays just simply means if you go to the doctor and the doctor takes care of you in the doctor's office, the copay is all you're going to have to worry about. Okay, you're not going to pay the copay at the doctor and then go sweat by your mailbox for the next month wondering if there's another bill going to come. Okay, so you pay the copay, doctor fixes you up in the doctor's office, sends you on your way, that's it, you're done. Same thing with a specialist. They can take care of you in the specialist office. You won't have to worry about coming back and getting another bill. If the specialist looks at you and determines, hey, you're kind of messed up, I can't fix you here, we need to send you to the hospital, we need to run this test or that test, that's when you're going to get the bills that are applied towards your deductible. And then, but for the most part, I mean, everything that happens during the course of a normal year, and that's what we're all shooting for, right, is a normal year. We don't want anything off that's going to tap this too hard. Copays are going to take care of what happens to you throughout the course of this year. On the first plan there, there's also a copay for urgent care and emergency room. You can see that it's a lot more cost effective to go to the urgent care than it is to go to the emergency room. So I'm going to encourage you to do as an agent is not just show you the plans, but encourage you to save yourself some money, use this wisely. If you're hurt, you break a leg on the weekend and your doctor's not open, a lot of people's instinct is, grab an ambulance, run down to the emergency room, do something like that. It's going to be $240 more than if you can find a capable urgent care center. So just know your benefits before you leave the house. You'll be a better educated healthcare consumer. But there's two really good copays in there for that. When it gets down to prescriptions, on that first plan, you're going to have to stay with generic, which typically, 9 times out of 10 is not going to be an issue. You do probably want to educate your doctor to your plan and say, if I need a prescription, keep a generic form, okay? Because there won't be any coverage for name brand drugs on that first plan. As we discussed, the bottom line there, per paycheck deductions, nothing's changed. So this is the exact same price it was last year, which I might get a big smile saying that because I don't get to say that ever, but I can say it in here this year. So the next two plans both have $1,500 deductibles, both have $4,500 out-of-pocket max. They're both split 80-20, so fairly similar, right? Differential. Okay, the only difference is the network. Okay, so the plans are identical. You've got $30 copays when you go to the primary. You got $55 when you go to the specialist. MRIs, CAT scans, PET scans, urgent care, emergency room all have copays. So this is a pretty copay-rich plan, really good coverage. The difference is middle plan 47 is an HMO, and the plan on the far right is a PPO. So again, let's define some terms. HMO is Florida's enormous Blue Cross network, and PPO is a little bit bigger. Okay, I mean it's that simple. It's not like in old school. Some of us might be old enough to remember what HMO meant. I need a permission slip to see a specialist, or I got to get this test before I can do that test. You're allowed to go to your specialist if you feel like you want to go to a specialist. You don't need a PPO to approve that. It's just a little bit bigger network. So some of you may be dealing with, or have family members who are dealing with a special problem that you already know about, has already been diagnosed, and you need the best specialist in town. You're going to want to check the networks to see what network the doctor's in. Okay, if the doctor is in the HMO, might not be a real reason to pay for a PPO. It's just a bigger network, but if the doctor is in the smaller network, it's the same plan. If you travel and you want to get in-network help done, throughout your travels. You were skiing up in Vermont over the winter, and you think you might catch a cold. You don't think you want to wait till you get home to deal with that cold, and you can find an in-network doctor in the PPO up in Vermont. For most of us who stick around Florida, you don't need specialists, and middle plan is just fine. It's a very good plan. Are there questions so far about the plans themselves? Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit more about Blue before we move on. Was there a flyer for the gym back?
It's on the back.
On the back of the packet?
Do you have it?
I'm not sure. I think I took this before you added it. This, that's telegraph.
Yes.
Yeah, I was looking for the other one.
It's in the very back.
Oh, back to this. Gotcha. All right, let's start with this. This is just like free money as far as I'm concerned. Is anybody already a member at a gym? Yeah. Anybody thought about it, but gyms are a little expensive? This is apparently one of the best kept secrets of Blue, because I mean, I've been paging for a while now, and I just recently found out about it, so I'm bringing it to you now. This is a phenomenal benefit. For anybody with a Blue card, you can go to floridablue.com, log in as a member, go through a couple of different computer menus that we can talk you through if you want. But the bottom line is, you get to this offering called Fitness Your Way, and you can pay a $25 initiation fee. You can pay $25 a month, and then after your $25, you can join almost any gym in town. There's like 9,000 gyms throughout Florida to choose from. I can tell you from personal experience, I joined the Y,